everyone, and welcome to Educational Webinar Jam. Today we are here to learn about basics of Excel to arrange grades. Ms. Hindal Haj will be doing today's presentation and training. She is a lecturer at Prince Sultan University and holds a master's in English literature. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please use the chat box to post your questions and they will be answered at the end. Now, without further ado, I'll request Ms. Hind to enlighten you with all her expertise. Ms. Hind, the platform is all yours.
Hi everyone, and good afternoon. Today, inshallah, I will be showing you about some basic uses of Excel, or really of Google Docs. Now, Excel, Microsoft Excel, which is something we may be more familiar with, and Google Docs, and I may use them interchangeably by mistake. That's because they are very, 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 very similar. They have the same function. They serve the same purpose, and generally speaking, their features are the same, and the way of using them is also the same. So today I will be teaching you how to use Google Docs in order to organize your grades, or Google Sheets. Google Sheets. I'm showing you how to use Google Sheets in order to organize grades. Now, Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel has a very wide variety, very wide range of uses. It can be used by the average middle schooler for a science report or a math report, and it can be used by an engineer for purposes that would take me a long time to understand. What I'll be doing today is using Google Sheets for organizing grades for the classroom. That's what I will be showing you today, inshallah. So we are gathered here today to learn several things in Google Sheets. First, how to format a Google Sheets document, how to organize grades into a Google Sheets document, how to fill in a Google Sheets document with information and with data, how to copy and paste into a Google Sheets document because that can be very tricky, how to insert formulas into Google Sheets. And again, there's a wide array of formulas, but I'll only be sticking to the ones that we need as teachers. How to manage share settings for a Google Sheets document, how to lay out and print a Google Sheets, and if time permits, how to generate graphs in a Google Sheets document. So to begin with, I'm sure all of you have had some experience with Microsoft Excel or maybe even Google Sheets. So if you can follow the link that Ms. Maria has just sent into the chat box, there's a very short and quick Kahoot challenge that we can take together. You will take individually, but then I can see your results in the end. You can use your name, you can use a nickname, you can use anything you want to use to join this Kahoot challenge. But please follow the link, join the challenge, and refresh your knowledge about the different features of Excel. It'll need a minute to finish. Okay, if you can't find the link is in the chat box on the Google Meet. You can just follow it, and then you'll you can join the Kahoot challenge to refresh your memory of Excel. Okay, so we've got A. So since we only had one participant, then A, you are the undisputed winner of this Kahoot challenge. Congratulations. Back to my slides. Okay, now this is an opportunity for you to try working yourself with Google with the Google Sheets. So again, Ms. Maria has shared this link in the chat box. Can you please follow this link? Once you follow this link, it will take you to a Google Docs sheet. And once you're in the Google Docs sheet, you have permission to edit this Google Docs sheet, to type in information. So if you can, over here, where it says name, type your name or a nickname or initials or anything that can represent you as an individual. And then if you can, in the column next to it, under online teaching, rate from 1 to 5 your experience with online teaching. 1 being very uncomfortable and 5 being very comfortable. How comfortable are you with online teaching? Now, Renette, you kind of wrote over name. If you can delete your name here and put it in row number 4, please. And then I'll get name back in there because we kind of need it. Okay, and you can observe as you work how the graph to the right is changing. As you put in your information, the graph to the right is changing. Okay, so A is almost very comfortable, rated 4 from 5 when it comes to comfort with online teaching. English Webinar Jam, mashallah, is extremely comfortable with online teaching. And RB is still navigating his or her way through online teaching. Okay, next thing I'd like you to do, please, is also next to your name, in the same row as your name, if you are an English teacher, please write 1 next to your name. If you are a math teacher, please write 1 next to your name under math. And if you are a science teacher, please write 1 next to your name under science. And as you type in these numbers, you can see 2 things. You can see, anonymous skunk, you just deleted my formula. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna put in the formula again. See, without a formula, there's no graph because the graph is linked to this row. Okay, this is what I'll be teaching you how to do today. So when you enter the data here, okay, the data was calculated over here into a sum, and this sum factors into this pie graph. So 25% of today's attendees are English teachers, 25% of today's attendees are math teachers, and 50% of today's attendees are science teachers. Now, no matter what you teach, welcome to this webinar on creating and managing grades through Google Sheets. And this is how it's done. So I will be using this Google Sheets document to show you how it's done. Well, in fact, first, in order to create a Google Sheets document, you go to your drive, you right-click, you go Google Sheets, you click on Google Sheets, and you create a new Google Sheets document. Okay. Every Google Sheets document can be made of one sheet, or it can be made of more sheets. So for example, let's say you are a homeroom teacher and you teach English, math, and science, and you want a grade book for English, for math, and for science. You do not have to create 3 Google Sheets documents. You can create one Google Sheets document, and you can, in this Google Sheets document, have 3 sheets. Sheet 1 can be English, so I will rename sheet 1 here to English, and then you can add a sheet. Sheet 2 can be math, for math, so I would rename and add math. Okay, and sheet 3 can be, I would rename sheet 3, I would write demo, because this is what I'll be using here today. If you are an English teacher and you have writing assignments, reading quizzes, and digital embedded learning projects for your students to do, then again, you can create 3 sheets here, and you can name them according to the nature of the assignment that you are collecting grades, collecting and organizing grades for. So this is the sheet in front of you. You've got rows and you've got columns. Now, while you can see gray lines over here, these gray lines are imaginary lines, if you want. They are longitudes and latitudes. They don't really exist, because when you print, all of these gray lines don't appear. So the first thing you want to do when you start working with a Google Sheets document is to create borders for the breadth of table you want to create. So let's say this is how much I want to create, and I am going to highlight how much of this sheet I will use to create a table, and I will go to this icon here that says borders. I'll click on it, and I can specify where I want my borders. Do you want borders only vertically? Borders that separate columns only? Or do you want borders that separate rows only? Or do you want borders, inner borders only? Or do you want the whole table to have borders? I always want the whole border to have tables, and look at it. Now there are clear, dark borders available. And when I print this document, my clear, dark borders will show. So what I want to do now is I want to insert grades for my students. I want to divide this divide this table into a space where I can clearly allocate different grades belonging to different categories for my different students. So I am going to specify the column where I will put my students' names. The name. This is where I will put my students' names. This is where I will put my students' ID numbers. And I will show you in a minute why names and ID numbers are both very important here. Not just names, but ID numbers are also very important here. So this is where I will put my students' ID numbers. And then this is where, let's say, I will put my students' writing grades. Oh, but wait. I want to give my students writing grades for several units, and then I want to I want to calculate the total. So I've got writing grades here, and I want writing grades for units 1, 2, and 3. So I am going to, in the row below it, write unit 1, writing grades for unit 1, unit 2, and unit 3. Okay, and after that, I want to calculate the average for my writing grades for units 1, 2, and 3. So, and it's very important to specify what the grade that's going to appear here is out of. So what's your rubric, your writing rubric out of? Is it out of 20? Is it out of 25? Specify that. That's very important for your students to be able to see, for your students to be able to understand, and later for you when you insert the formula for calculating the average for your grades. So my rubric for unit 1 is, and unit 2 and unit 3, let's say, is out of 25. So I am going to specify that this grade is out of 25. Unit 1, out of 25. Unit 2, I clicked on the cell, unit 2, and I am going to open brackets, out of 25, close bracket, and look what happened. What happened was my unit 2 is gone because I overwrote it. I wrote over my subcategory here. And the reason why I wrote over my subcategory is I just went to the cell, clicked on it, and started typing. And that, I can't do that. When you already have information in the cell and you want to add information to it, you don't want to override the information. You want to add information. You click on the cell, you go up here to the text box here under FX, you click next to unit 2, open brackets, out of 25, close brackets. And I want to do the same thing for unit 3, open brackets, out of, close brackets. And now I've got my 3 categories. I've got my 3 subcategories for my category writing grades. And I want to put these 3 subcategories, I want to center them. So I'm going to highlight them. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to center them. The next thing I want to get grades for my students for is their reading quizzes, let's say. And my students have 2 reading quizzes. So I am going to specify quiz 1, which is out of 30, and quiz 2, which is also out of 30. But add the space here, for consistency, space, and I'm also going to center these. Okay, oh, oops, I'm running out of place. I'm running out of space because I need to put, I need the average of the quizzes here. So clearly I did not add enough borders. It's okay, I can continue. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the calculation. But I want borders because it's neater. So I'm going to highlight the unbordered, the call itself without borders, that are going to add borders, and here we are. And so I need to calculate the average for the reading average. And then I want a column here for final exams. The final exam, let's say. And the final exam is out of, let's say, 5. For 45% of the grade. And over here, I am going to get my course total. This is very rudimentary here, but it will serve our purpose, our training purpose for today. So what I have here now is I've got my categories for my table. and my subcategories. And so I should be able to start plugging in data. But in reality, my table isn't really formatted very clearly. So I need more formatting options here. For example, I've got units 1, unit 2, unit 3 for writing, and that writing average. This here is the writing average here, and this here is the reading average. These 3 subcategories all fall under writing grades. So what is writing grades doing here only above unit 1? And that's not very professional, and it's not very accurate, and it can be visually misleading. So what I want to do is I want writing grades to hover over these 4 categories. I want writing grades to clearly, to very clearly appear at a mother category for these 4 subcategories. But then writing grades is only in this cell. What do? Do I write writing in this cell and grades in this cell? What about the other 2 cells? No. What you need to do here, what I need to do here is I need to have these 4 cells merged into one cell. So I am going to highlight these 4 cells, and I'm going to go to my icon here, the icon that said merge cells. And I am going to merge these 4 cells together. And now writing grades is in one cell. I am going to center it, and there we are. Now writing grade is hovering over these 4 cells. I'm going to do the same for my reading grades. Again, highlight, merge, center. In a Microsoft Excel document, the merge and center will be one option. You can simply choose them as one option. So again, what I have here are 3 grades categories: writing grades, reading quizzes, and the final exam. And then I've got the course total. I can make my Excel sheet even more visually friendly by highlighting the 3 categories. By highlighting the 3 categories so that I can separate them by color coding the 3 categories so that I can separate them visually. And this is how I can do that. I can highlight. So this is my writing grades category here. I can highlight it. I go to the fill color option, and I want to shade it. Okay, so I am going to choose brick red. Not a very good idea. Very bad idea. And the reason this is a very bad idea is that the brick red is very dark. And even when I start entering the data, I can see the data. I can definitely see the data. But this color is not soft on the eye, and it's dark. You want to stick to the lighter shades. So you've got over here, you've got really light shades. So my writing grades are going to be in a very light shade of pink. Okay, now this is too light. It's so light I can barely see it. So I'm gonna click a slightly darker shade over here. So I'm gonna choose this darker shade of pink. And then for my reading quizzes, I'm gonna choose a darker shade, a light shade of blue. And for the final exam, I'm gonna choose a light shade of green. And this is going to be a lot more visually friendly for myself as a teacher, for the students who may need to view this Google Sheets document, and for my coordinator or any supervisor or admin who also needs to see this document. I can also highlight, I can also shade the course total over here. I'll shade it in gray, and I'll shade the students' names and ID numbers in gray. And now I've got a very visually friendly Google Sheets document. Okay, you can make these headings bold. I've got empty cells here because for names and ID numbers, there aren't any subcategories. So you need to be very careful not to come and write a student's name here. You need to be very careful not to put Bob's name here, because you can't add data for Bob anymore. You can't, because what you have here are subheadings. You can use a lot. And watch me as I increase the width of cells. If you need to increase the width of cells, you come here and you increase the width of cells. Okay, and usually you come here and you increase the width of cells over here. So you can't start with Bob's name here, because this row is for subheadings, even if the cell under names is empty. So I need to start with my students' names from row number 3. So Bob goes here. Now, what you can do is you can keep these two like this, or for, again, a neater representation, you can merge these cells, and then you can merge and center, merge and center, and it looks a lot neater now. Merge and center. I am a stickler for formatting, by the way. Merge and center. It did not merge. Forgot to merge. Merge. What did I do? What did I do? Oh, nothing. Okay. So again, much neater right now. So now I can add my students' names. If I have them somewhere, I can go copy them and paste them. All I need to do is copy from someplace, come here, right click, and paste. So, okay, Bob, Omar, Susan, Layla, Sumaya, and François. So I've got my students' names here, and I've got their ID numbers here: 213, 456, 789, 135, 247, and 965. These are their ID numbers over here. Of course, I just made them up. Usually ID numbers are much longer than that. It doesn't matter. So what I need now to do is I need to enter their grades. I can copy them again and I can paste them here, or I can just insert them immediately over here. So I'm going to do this very quickly. Out of 25, Bob got a 21 on his Unit 1 reading, and then Omar got 23, and Susan got 23. She copied from Omar, by the way, but I had no proof of that, so I had to let it go. Layla's not doing very well. She got an 11, and Maya got 19, and poor Francois is really struggling with his writing, especially in English. Okay, so here are their grades. And again, I'm just going to keep putting random grades over here. Bob is improving in writing. Omar wasn't really focused on his second writing. I think he got too confident. Okay, clearly we were wrong about Susan copying from Omar, because there's a very big difference in grades right there. And some improvement here, some improvement there. And Francois is still stuck. Okay, and again, no. Okay. Oh, it looks like Omar is the one who copied from Susan the first time. Okay, so I've got their writing grades right there. Lovely. They look lovely. Okay, so what I need to do now is I want to calculate their average. You do not need a calculator to calculate their average. You do not need a pencil and paper. You do not need to go 21 plus 24 plus 18 equals whatever it is, and then divide it by 3. What you need to do is you need to enter a formula into this cell. And this formula is going to calculate the average of these 3 grades for you. I mean, you look at this now, and all you see are 6 students. And it can be tedious to calculate grades for all of these grades for the average, all of these averages for 6 students, but it's doable. But if you have 25 students and you have writing grades for 8 units per student and reading quizzes for 3 quizzes per student, and you've got the midterm and the final, we're talking about a lot of grades here, and you do not want to have to do these calculations. Excel will do the calculations for you. So you go, I'm going to go to this cell. This cell F3, and in this cell, I am going to ask the Google spreadsheet to calculate the writing average for Bob, who received 21 on his Unit 1 paragraph or essay, 24 on his Unit 2 essay, and 18 on his Unit 3 essay. And in this cell, I am going to ask Google Sheets to calculate his grade, his average for writing, his writing average. This is his writing average we're talking about. I want to insert the formula. The first thing you do when you insert a formula is you write the equal sign. Okay, the first thing you do when you want to insert a formula is write the equal sign. Equal what? What am I looking for? I am looking for average, so I'm going to type in average. I'm looking for the average of what? Now Google Sheets is being smart with me here, and they're giving me suggestions. So I'm going to ignore them so that I can explain to you how this is done manually, because Google Sheets Google Sheets is not always smart. Google Sheets cannot always predict what you're trying to do. Now Google Sheets is predicting very accurately what I'm trying to do, but it's not always accurate, so don't always depend on it. You need to know this so that you know when it's being accurate and when not. So what I want the average of the 3 numbers, Bob's 3 grades for units 1, 2, and 3. So I am going to give the Google spreadsheet a range of cells where it can retrieve the grades and calculate their average. And the range of cells is here. It starts in this cell. Now, cells in Google in spreadsheet documents are named by the letter corresponding to which column they are in, followed by the number corresponding to which row they are in. So Bob's name is in cell A3. Bob's ID number is in cell B3. Bob's Unit 1 essay grade is in cell C3. His Unit 2 essay grade is in cell D3, and his Unit 3 essay grade is in cell E3. So I am going to ask the spreadsheet to calculate the average of the following range. I open brackets. The brackets means the range is open. I open brackets and I specify the first cell in the range, which is C3. So please calculate the average of C3, of the number in C3, of the number in B3, and of the number in B3, and of the number in E3. Close brackets, enter, done. Google spreadsheet calculated the average for me here. This is one way of doing it, of specifying the 3 cells which average you want to calculate. Now, of course, again, if you have 8 units, you don't want to sit there and type the name of every cell for all of the 8 units. So you're going to need to type in 8 cells. You don't need to do that. What we can do is, instead, and I'm going to come back here and I'm going to erase this range, you can specify the range. So over here, I'm going to ask Google Sheets to calculate the average for open brackets, which means I open the range, C3 colon E3 close brackets. What the colon does here is it's the code for your coding. You're basically coding over here. It's the code for everything between C3 and E3. So it's the code for till, T-I-L-L. Okay, C3 until E3 horizontally. Okay, C3 till E3 horizontally. This can only be done when the grades whose average you want to calculate are positioned are positioned right next to each other horizontally. You see that here they're consequent here horizontally. So C3 to E3, enter, and again, here's my average. So what do I do now? I was able to insert the formula for Bob. And here I am with Bob's average. But I still need Omar's average. I still need Susan's average. I still need Layla, Sumaya, and François' average. Do I retype the formula in here every time? No. You don't retype the formula in here every time. All you need to do is go to the first formula. You see this cell? You see this blue outline for the cell? Go to the bottom corner over here, the bottom right-hand corner. Look at my cursor. Please focus on my cursor. As I move my cursor towards the bottom right-hand corner, my cursor will change into a black plus sign. Once your cursor changes into a black plus sign, you click, you keep clicking, and you drag. And what I'm doing here is I am copying the formula into the subsequent cells in this column. And I am going to let go of my mouse now, of my click, and there I am. I've got the averages for the writing average for all of my students. If by mistake I continue 2 columns below, look at what I get. Okay, there's an error here because there are no numbers. The formula cannot calculate anything because there are no numbers in these cells. So you may ask, I copied the formula, but does that mean all of these grades, all of these averages are Bob's average? Because in this formula, I specifically told the spreadsheet to calculate the average for the grades in C3, D3, and E3. And I copied the formula into the following cells. Does that mean I asked the Google spreadsheet to calculate for C3, D3, and E3 for all of the other students? Am I giving the other students Bob's grades? No. The spreadsheet is smart enough to modify the equation to take the respective cells for the following students. So if you look at this sheet over here, if you look at this, if you look at this formula over here, it's not C3 to E3 anymore, it's C4 to E4. C4, it's Omar's grade. C5 to E5, Susan's grades, etc., etc. Now, look at those decimal values. Oh my God. You don't want all of these decimal values. If you don't want all of these decimal values, you can ask the spreadsheet to round. I'm going to ask my spreadsheet here to round the decimal values to the nearest 0.1. So I'm going to accept only 1 decimal place. I highlight them and you go here to this icon over here. Decrease decimal places, click. Okay. No, it took them all. I want to keep 1, so I'm going to go to increase decimal places and I'm keeping 1. Okay, so I'm keeping 1 decimal value over here. So Bob got to 21, Omar 16.7, Susan 23.7, Layla 13.3, etc., etc. And this is how I plug in my grades, and this is how I calculate the averages. I'm going to do the same for the reading quizzes very quickly, out of 30. So I'm just going to, very important point. The only way you can use this average formula to calculate the average for these 3 grades if the 3 grades have the same denominator. This is very important. They need to all be out of 25. If one is out of 25 and one is out of 20 and one is out of 15, then you cannot use this formula and calculate them in this way. Then what you need to do is you need to change the 3 grades into a numerical value that's out of the same denominator. So all of them need to be changed into out of 15 or out of 25 or out of 20, and then you can calculate the grade. It can get very it's not complicated, it's not confusing, it's doable, but now it doesn't depend on your Google Sheet skills, it depends on your math skills. So what you need here is to be able to change grade into common denominators using that's math skills now. So I'm not going to go into it because I don't have enough time, and because it's not Google Sheets, it's math. So I'm going to do this very quickly for reading quizzes because I want to show you how to use the sums. So, oh wait, I'm 34. Can't be 34 out of 30, can it? Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy them and paste them, or maybe I'll copy these. Okay, I'm failing everyone right now. Oh, another thing about copying is, let's say I copy from one cell to another, the format gets copied. So what I want to do is I want to right click, paste special, paste values only. Okay, and again, what I'm looking for here is the average of G3 and H3. Thank you. I'm calculating the average now for the reading quizzes. Okay, everybody aced their exams. They probably found previous's online. And there we go, everybody aced their exams. So what I need now is the course total. And the course total is the writing average, the reading average, and the final exam. What I need here is not an average. What I need to do is to add the writing average and the reading average and the final exam. If you look very closely, the writing grades are 25%. Reading grades are 30% in a real English class, not this imaginary English class. It would probably be the other way around because writing always has more weight. But this is an imaginary English class. And the final exam is 45%. So I've got 30 plus 25 is 55 plus 45 is 100. My course total is made of this final exam grade plus this reading average plus this writing average. So what I want is a sum. So I am going to say equals, I need a formula here, equals the writing average, which is F3. Look at it, it just got highlighted. Plus reading average, which is I3, plus the final exam, which is J3. Done. And Bob has an 89.5 out of 100 as a course total grade. This is one way of doing it. This plus this plus this. Another way of doing it is to go equals sum. Sum. Open bracket. And I want the sum of F3, comma. I can't use a colon because the reading average is not it's not in the subsequent cells to the writing average. So I can't use a colon. I can't tell the Google spreadsheet to calculate from here till here. So it's F3, comma, and then I3 till J3 89.5. And I want the course total for all of the students. So again, I come to my bottom right hand corner, I click, I drag, and I've got the averages of all of my students. Very good students, clearly grade inflation. Okay, I have a serious case of grade inflation over here. But this is how you organize grades in the spreadsheet. Now, let me just make sure formatting done, organizing done, filling in done, copying and pasting. Copying and pasting can be very tricky in spreadsheets. So for example, let's say there are a lot of formulas, by the way. What I just showed you the formula for average, and I just showed you the formula for course total. You have for sum, I mean, you have F formulas. So for example, I can show you one F formula. Let's say here, if I want the course total, and then over here, I want the letter grade. I can come here and I can go equals F. F what? F the grade in K3. If the course total grade is greater than, if the course total grade is greater than 60, comma, then I want to tell the student that they, open quotations, pass. Those brackets, done. See? There we go. If the course total grade is greater than 60, then students pass. But if the course total grade is less than, is less than 60, then I want to tell the student, see you next semester. Or student. Oops, something went wrong. Okay. I wrote something wrong, but it doesn't matter. This is the F function there. And since everybody's passing, it doesn't matter. I've got grade inflation right there. Now, copy. Let's say this is my spreadsheet, but my boss, my coordinator, doesn't want to see all of this information. She only wants to see the writing average and the reading average. So what I want is I want to create another document, another sheet, where I give my coordinator the students' names, their ID numbers, and just the writing average, the reading average, and the final exam and the course total. What do? I'm not going to take it into another document. I'm just going to keep it here just to show you. So I highlight the names, copy, paste. I copied and I pasted. I've got no problems there. I highlight the numbers, I copy, and I paste. I've got no problems there. But now what my okay. But now what my coordinator wants to see is only the writing average. So I'm gonna copy the writing average, copy, and I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna click paste, and I have a problem. And the problem is with the reference. You see, what I just copied over here, when I went right-click, copy over here, what I copied was the formula. Because what I inserted was the formula. If I come to this slide, look at what it says here. It says average C3 to E3. So when I come here, there is no reference anymore, because when I change the position, the reference changes and there are no numbers and it's a complete mess. Okay, the mistake I did was that I just chose paste. Over here, I want to right-click copy. I copied the formula, but I really copied everything. I copied the code, not just the formula. I copied the whole code. What I want to paste is I go right-click, paste special, paste values only. And this is when I paste the values only. So what's here is the value, but what's here is the code, the formula, which is the code. So be very careful when you copy and paste formulas. I copy, I right-click, I paste values only, because that's what I want to show my coordinator. I only want to give my coordinator the values. She doesn't want the formulas. And if I paste the formulas, then the reference is lost and I'm in big trouble. I only want these values, okay? There's one thing I don't like about this table is that it doesn't have a title. I forgot to add a title, so I want to add a column. What do? I come here to row. I forgot. I want to add a row. I come to row 1. I right-click and I say insert 1 above. And what I have here is a row above. And I'm going to highlight all of these cells, and I am going to merge and center my cells, and I am going to give it a nice orange fill, and it's centered, and I am going to say these are the imaginary fourth grades section educational webinar. Yeah. Okay, so this is the title here for my spreadsheet. Now, inserting formulas, managing share settings. So let's say you want to share this Google Sheets document with your students. All of your students have Gmails, and you want to share this document with your students as a Google Sheets. You go share, and you type in your students' emails. So this is my students' email, and you send, but you need to be very careful. My student, Maria, is an editor. If I share this Google Sheets with my student as an editor, my student can go in and she can change her name, she can change her grades, and she can tamper with her friends' grades, and I'll be out of a job, and I'll probably go to court, and I'll have the worst day of my life. What I need to do is I need to change my students' role from editor to viewer. And now my student Maria can view this document. She can see her grades, but she can't tamper with them. But now I have another problem. Now I have another problem. If I am sharing this with my students, that means my students can see each other's grades. I mean, that's not fair. That's not professional. Students don't want their peers to see their grades. So what I need to do is I need to keep the ID numbers for students to be able to see their ID number and their grades, because students don't know each other's ID numbers. But I want to remove the names. But I don't want to remove the names because I don't have my students' ID numbers memorized by heart. I need to see their names as a teacher, but I don't want their peers to see their names. So what I do is I come to this column here, column A, the one with names. I right-click and I choose to hide the column. My students cannot unhide the column because they are viewers, they are not editors. But when I come to add grades, I can come back here, see this arrow, I click on this arrow, okay, maybe not. I right click. What happened? There should be where's the unhide? Wait. Ah, there it is. So yes, it was the arrow. Only it was moved. Sorry. Okay. So again, let me show you again. Hide the column, and then I click on the arrow on this black arrow over here. I unhide the column, and I can see it. And then after I finish entering grades or viewing my students' grades, I can hide it again so that students can't see each other's grades. Okay. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, and I can't show you how to insert graphs and charts. Maybe inshallah in another webinar. So now, would you like to take the Kahoot challenge again and see if you are more confident answering it now? Then Miss Maria can put the link in the chat. There you go. The link is in the chat if you would like to take the challenge again. Oh no, wait. Oh no, because I ended that link. Oh, it's not possible. Oh, never mind. It's not possible unless I. Wait, let me set it up again as a challenge. Meanwhile, does anyone have any questions? If anyone has any questions while this challenge loads, how can you print? Okay, so to print, the first thing you need to do is you need to select your print area. So I'm going to select my print area, and I need to select my print area. So control print, landscape, and there it is. It prints my selected print area. And that's basically it. It's a lot easier here than in Microsoft and than in Microsoft Excel, by the way. What happened? Oh. But what you need to do is be careful. If you don't select your print area and you just go control print, then it will print everything. And we're talking about pages and pages of blank space. So you should always select your print area. Yes, in Google Sheets, the sheet is saved automatically. It is. Yeah, that's a very good question. If it doesn't fit the page, and over here in the print settings, you go to scale and you fit to width. See, this is the normal. The normal doesn't fit the page, as you can see. The normal doesn't fit the page. And it's the same in Microsoft Excel, by the way. The normal over here doesn't fit the page. But we don't want the normal. We want to fit the width. Now, in this case, there isn't that it fits on the landscape, and then if it's portrait, then again, I want to fit the width, but I also want to fit the height, but not the width here. So, but what we want is to fit the width. The width is always important to fit. The height isn't necessary, but the width is important to fit. If you want to fit them both, then fit to page and it's all fit to the page. You scale it after printing. That's when you choose the settings of your, the settings of printing here in scale. You're welcome, anytime. Are there any other questions? And if anybody would like to take the Kahoot game again, if you're more confident now and would like to take the Kahoot game again, then there's the link for the Kahoot game again. And I gave everything I have. Well, in fact, I didn't because there are still charts, but we've run out of time, maybe another time. But this is everything we have time for today. And if you have any questions, please ask your questions. If you don't have any questions, then inshallah, see you next time in another webinar. And many thanks, Maria, for this really great opportunity to share knowledge. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you,
and thank you everyone for attending.
Very entertaining as well. Really enlightened by your session, mashallah. Thank you very much. And thank you for the rest of the attendees to attend this webinar. And just please keep track of time. It is at 4:30 PSA time and 1:30 UK time. So I think the time zones is lagging behind where you people join later. So, and you're most welcome to join upcoming webinars. We have every week. Please follow our page. They're all free webinars and very informative for online teaching. If you have any questions, please ask now before we close. No questions at all? Mifin, that shows how well your training was. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming and hope to see you in future as well. Bye for now.